what I'm going to do, mate, is let you introduce yourself, because I always feel like I make a big mess of introducing people. So I think it's better for you to introduce yourself, and you can big yourself up and tell everyone how great you are, basically.
Yeah.
So introduce yourself, mate.
Well, my name's Gareth Harris, and I've been around pro wrestling and teaching pro wrestling probably for the last 9 years, probably longer. Basically, I'm just a kid what used to like fighting with my mates and messing around, and then found a flyer and went to a wrestling school, which led to me meeting a guy called Robbie Brookside, who's like a British wrestling legend, which meant to me in 2008 having a tryout for WWE. And then I got my own school in 2017. And then I worked on a film called Fighting With My Family. I taught all the actors, and basically that's it. I'm not a big person on picking myself up, which is probably half of the problem. But I'm not really.
You got Instagram?
Yeah, I think so. I just don't really post on it. I've got lads what do that for me now. There's kids, as you know nowadays, what do all that stuff. So I've got a few guys what do that. I've never been a person, like my dad's always been this way with me. Like he's always been like, don't matter what happens, don't matter who you are, like just, it doesn't mean anything. And I know that sounds like I'm being like negative towards what I've done. I'm not. I'm just, we're all people, and I've just chose to basically be an idiot for most of my life, and it's it's fun. This is what I've always kind of wanted to do, and that's what I've been doing. And now I'm lucky enough to have my own school in Leicester, which is called From the Ground Up School of Wrestling, and I've been doing that with my own unit for 6 years. And before that, as you know, I met the guys over at the CrossFit, and they were renting space in a freezing cold CrossFit gym for me, and I had 4 mats, and that's where we started in 2017. So I'm not great at like selling myself, I'll be honest. So
to be honest with you, man, that was a brilliant intro. That's way better than I could have done.
You got to say that, didn't you?
That was wicked, mate. Yeah. You covered a load of things that I was probably going to ask you as well.
Yeah, well, I can go into obviously detail about it, but
yeah. So what actually got you into wrestling then?
So when I was it's a weird one, because I think I was about 11 years old. I wasn't like super young, and back in the day on like, and this is a big thing, and you'd probably know this. I know you're probably a bit younger than me, but the anyone that had Sky or like cable, they were like millionaires to me. Do you know what I mean? Like it was expensive.
Yeah, I remember at one point my parents getting Sky a bit later than everyone else.
Yeah.
But when we had it, I remember thinking, wow, we're almost becoming posh.
Yeah. But like my cousins, I remember going around like my cousin's house, and I think they had like diamond cable, and just seeing like Cartoon Network and like being like, what, there's a channel for like cartoons all day. And I was just like amazed, and I was like so thingy, like, but we never had it like that. Like me and my sister grew up on like Quick Save lemonade for 15p, mate. Like, and that's the thing, like, we wasn't poor. My mum and dad provided everything we needed for us. But like going to McDonald's, like with my kids, I've got 2 kids now. Like those, when I take McDonald's, they don't care. They're just like, oh, we're at McDonald's. But like the only time I ever went McDonald's when I was a kid was when I got invited to like one of those birthday parties they used to do, because it was just too expensive. So to go back to like how I got into wrestling, I remember someone lending me a video cassette, which is, for all the youngsters here, which is a big, thick, bulk-shaped thing. And on it was recorded in long play, which means you can get 4 hours on this thing. And someone recorded 2 pay-per-views. It was a WWF Fully Loaded 98 and the Royal Rumble 98. And that was the first time I ever really seen it, like properly. So I think I was about 11 at the time. And I remember watching that and being like, what is this? This is like Stone Cold on top, you know what I mean? Like seeing this guy. And I remember like there's so many different characters, but it was action as well. And it was like really like eye-catching for me at that time. So like then I would like look for stuff, that was like the first time. And I remember we used to go to like working men's clubs, and I like now just to go on it, like I run a lot of shows in working men's clubs, and I think it's just for me, like it's the nostalgia of it. But we used to go there, and I remember there was this Scottish guy on the bar, and he was like a real mean kind of tough Scottish guy. And anyway, everyone would go down and play bingo, and he'd be like, oh, put the wrestling on. And me and him would watch like wrestling on Sky because they had it at the pub, and that was the only time. So and as soon as anyone came up, he'd flick it back to the football and be like, because he was embarrassed of watching like wrestling, because it was like, you know, to the football guys and that, it was like hokey, or like, oh, everyone would say, oh, it's that fake stuff and all that. Like, but that was like my childhood. I would always go, and I would just go to these working men's clubs, and they would, you know, play, back in the day, like they played bingo, and you couldn't see the ceiling because everyone's smoking. Like the entire top part, like that would never happen now, but that's how it used to be. So I'd sit in the lounge with this guy, and we'd be watching wrestling and just all the characters and stuff, what got me into it. But me and my mates we would always play fight and mess around, and the teachers were all there to have a go at me. My mate Tony, he was like the one where me and him would like beat the hell out of each other. We'd come back covered in mud. My mum and dad would have a go at me and stuff. But we would always like the wrestling, and it was like it was crazy because it's like my sister and my mum, like they had like my mum was really artistic, like she could craft anything. And she was like a fabric designer, and my sister, she taught her that. So they would make like this. I'm going somewhere with this. It's not a random one. I was like, why is this guy talking about this? But they would make like these collectible mohair bears, and they're like really high end stuff. But they'd make them from scratch, and they had them at Leicester Market. You remember when it was like an actual building? It was like a fish market. They had a stall on the top floor. Like we would have a bear stall on the top floor of a fish market, you know? But they had it. And basically, the guy next to my mum's stall he would sell like foam for cushions and mats and everything. So I was like mad on wrestling. My dad said to me, oh, I can get you probably something. So he bought me like a 10-foot, like basically built a 10-foot shed, filled it full of foam, mate. And then that was it. Me and my mates were like, we called it like the foam room. Me and my mates would be in there just beating each other up in this massive room of like a foam pit before there was foam pits, you know. And like that's was like my childhood, just that. And so basically to get me, what got me into it was like walking home from school, and I just seen a flyer just on like one of those council little boards just pinned up, and it was like wrestling. It was like we didn't have phones or we didn't have mobiles or so just took it. You know, I probably stole away like the local community's wrestling thing. So I just took it. I was like, that's mine. So then, and that's basically what led me on to like getting into the wrestling sort of thing. So it's like a massive long story just to get to one point, but I got there, mate.
That's wicked. So what year was it? Would it have been? Well, how old would you have been when you actually started wrestling?
I think about 15. So it was quite a while, from like the age of 11.
Yeah, just kind of messing around.
I loved it, mate. I had the PlayStation with a multi-tap, which was, for anyone that don't know, it's like a thing that has like 4 imports, so all your mates could play. Yeah. We'd play like SmackDown and, you know, like the ECW games and all that lot. So we just carried on, mate. But
yeah, to be fair, it brings back a lot of memories for me, actually. The same kind of thing. I couldn't say that I was ever like mega into wrestling, but definitely into it. We watched it, and we definitely, I can remember that, like, you know, having all your mates around and playing it.
Oh yeah, it's just a weird, like a really unique thing to watch. There's nothing else like that. You know, there's nothing, and that's what I loved about wrestling, is that there's nothing else like it. It was such a surprise as well. So like when I would go to school, and the kids, like a kid would come in who had Sky, he would say like, this is in like 99. He would say like Goldberg came out on Raw, and I'm like, because I used to get snippets on Sunday. On Sunday they would have like WCW, or they would have like Heat on there, like WWF Heat, and I would get snippets of what's going on. So I knew these guys, and I knew they were in different companies. But he would tell me like Goldberg's came out, and I'd be like believing it, and I'd believe it like for months because there was no way of knowing, you know. And that was, in a way, as much as that's like, oh, you had to wait and you had to wait. I love that. And I think because nowadays it's gone, like the surprise and the mystery of what happens that's kind of what's killed it for me. I think the internet in a way has killed it for me. Yeah. Because it's spoiled it, you know. And you go on your phone if you like, obviously follow UFC and fighting and stuff. And I was a big fan, and I still am, but not so much anymore. But it was like I would literally wake up and watch those fights live. Yeah. You know, just because I wanted to see who's going to win. Yeah. And now you pick your phone up, bang, it's right in front of you, and it's ruined. And there's no attention span or anything. So I think that's kind of roughly what's like killed it. And I've not watched, I'll be honest, I haven't watched wrestling in probably 10 years, mate. Really? Yeah. It's like, I know that it sounds, everyone says to me, how can you do that? Well, you've got your own wrestling school and that. I was like, well, if you're a plumber, and you go to work every day and you do plumbing, are you going to sit at home watching plumbing videos? I don't think so.
To be honest, I don't watch a lot of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. But that's what I wanted. It's a bit different for you.
Yeah.
Because these guys probably could learn something or be doing a new technique, and you're just in there oblivious to it. With me, it's not going to make any difference. But for you, it's
I watch it for educational purposes. To be honest with you, that's about it. I watch some instructionals, and I watch people that are doing well in jiu-jitsu, and kind of like just study what they're doing. I can't say that I enjoy it.
No.
There's like the ADCC event, I think, in the Craig Jones one that he did last year.
Yeah.
That are quite a good spectacle.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm not really interested. I'd rather just watch UFC. And even with that, I'd probably watch the top 2 fights. I mean, I might watch the main and the co-main, and that's probably about it. So even with that, I don't watch a lot anymore.
And that's I think pro wrestling, like amongst every sort of thing, especially the UFC. I think that's the thing what made me like the UFC. Because the guys started being professional wrestlers essentially in front of the camera, and they built characters up, like Chael Sonnen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he built. He basically just took everything he knew from. He loves pro wrestling, so he took everything that he liked from pro wrestling and created a character, and that's what kind of captivated it. And that's what I loved as kids. Like, when me and my mates, we all loved this. Was the characters. It wasn't the moves, it wasn't how cool, like we enjoyed it. I'm not saying I never enjoyed it, but the characters is what's in my head now. Like all of those 100%. Characters is what sticks. So like to get into it was that flyer moment. So when I found that flyer, that was like the first kind of like, oh wow, there is a way in sort of thing. Because back in the day there was no way in. You get your head kicked in to get in. And it would, because they protected it, because it's basically a money, it's their lives. You let anyone in, they're going to devalue what you're doing, sort of thing. So
how was it actually doing the wrestling with some kind of
it was terrible.
Direction?
It was terrible. And now this isn't to speak like really badly of the guys while they're there, but it was at the time it was an old wrestler who I think had a career, but he was too old at that point. And then people kind of taking on the classes, and I remember it like I was getting like suplexed on like essentially judo mats, like full on suplex. And I was getting like every week I would come away. It was on a Tuesday night. And my dad used to take me every Tuesday night, and it was just off the Narber Road. And I would get like I wouldn't learn it. I'd just get hurt. And there was too many people there. Just the way that they would basically express their knowledge. It's just, well, not even their knowledge, but they would just hurt you and be like, you need to be tougher and all this lot. And it wasn't until I met my mate Dan there, and I met a lad called Lee, and they introduced me to another place in Rugby, which was called WAR, which was like Wrestling Association of Rugby, like the coolest name for wrestling, and then killed by like the actual meaning of it, Wrestling Association of Rugby. But I met like there's 3 brothers there called the Platt brothers, Stuart, Andrew and Simon, and they were like, I think they had someone who taught them, but even if they didn't, I'm not 100% sure, so I could be wrong. Even if they were self-taught, they were 1,000 times better than where I was originally. They were actually decent for me. Like I learned how to bump, which in wrestling's like, that's like the one. At all the place I was getting mullered. And not to say I wasn't getting mullered over here, but I at least knew how to kind of do it. They were just like, do this at the first place I went to. And I was just like, at 15 years old, it didn't really matter. Do you know what I mean? Because you're so young, you bounce around, don't you? But when I went over there, they actually had an idea of what it was. So when I was doing it, I started to learn it, and I essentially became their like bump monkey, because I was like 9 stone soaking wet, and they would just throw me around, But to be fair, that is why I can teach these like people how to bump. There's years of that with those guys, and they put like shows on and stuff, and the level that they were doing at, those guys were good for what they were doing. People would probably, the more experienced wrestlers would probably look down on that, but there's most of these little companies. I look at this, over the years you learn, but most of these little companies, when you have, that was a good one, that was a good little company, and those guys you know, had a few good guys, and around them there's been guys who was around that who went on to WWE and stuff, you know. So everyone could be negative and talk about things about that, but for me it was a good place for me. I learned. I look at things different. You get older, you start looking at things. I think when I was younger I was like, oh, what's going on here? Like it's not going the way I kind of want it to do. But then you look back and you go, well, hang on a minute, they did all right. They did all right. And my dad, I think they used to do Thursdays and a Saturday, if I remember. Could have been a Sunday. But yeah, they used to do. He used to drive me to rugby every week. I bought him a mini DVD player, mate, and he would watch like We Were Soldiers and Saving Private Ryan every like Thursday. So like, yeah, but that's basically how I got properly starting to get into it and enjoyed it. You know, was these lads at rugby what did this. So. Yeah.
So what level did you get to then? So I'm assuming you did a lot of shows.
Yeah. So like I basically went from that, and then he's basically a British legend, this guy. And he's at WWE now, he's he's one of the coaches. I think he teaches like the foundation class. And I basically met this guy called Robbie Brookside, who's in like British wrestling, anyone knows this guy. You know, he's taught like Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson or whatever you want to call him. He's taught a lot of great guys. He's had a good hand on a lot of fantastic guys. And he randomly moved to Leicester and lived in Beaumont Leys, mate. So it was weird. Like this guy was... So he basically, the original school that I went to, which I didn't like in Leicester, they then basically found him. I don't know how they did it, but they got hold of him and he started taking the classes. And he just turned up. And I didn't know the guy, I didn't know him from anything. And then there was just like meeting. It was like a gold mine for someone that wants to be a wrestler. It's like meeting one of the best in the world, you know. And it was very fortunate. So I spent about 6 years with Rob, like quite a long time with him. And I was fortunate enough to get onto like all-star shows. Like in England, like All-Star was the company you would want to be on. Yeah, there was indie companies. So like it's weird. It's like there was the ones what had the internet, like a bit of internet buzz. But All-Star was the one, like, what they're drawing like 600 people. But the one what gets spoken about on the internet is the one what drew like 50, but they've got like this ECW kind of vibe. Yeah. But then you've got the guys who are on All-Star who work literally like 200, 300 days a year on the holiday camps or any of this lot. So I was very fortunate to get on there, and that was through Rob. And then I got a few contacts and that. And to basically where I got to, I did a few summers of the camps. And I wrestled quite a lot for these companies, but I never really... I got a WWE tryout in 2008 at the O2, and that was good. I turned up, and I got to see all these guys who I've been watching since I was a kid. But again, here's my problem, and it's always been kind of my problem. I don't mark out, or I don't go, wow, because my dad has always been like... It's just a bloke, mate. You know what I mean? And I know that I appreciate the work and I appreciate what these guys have done. But when I turned up and I was kind of like, oh, nice to meet you and all that lot. Like Rob, I know at the time was kind of looking at me like, you're not appreciating that. Yeah. Mate, I'm appreciating it. But at the same time, if I was like, oh, wow, he would have had a go at me. You know what I mean? So in my head, I was like, this is surreal. It's a surreal experience.
Yeah. What age is this?
2008. So I don't know now, mate. Let me my maths is terrible.
Track,
how many years ago is that? 2008. So 15, 10, 13 years ago? Yeah. So 13 years ago, I would have been...
17, 2008. What are we now, 25?
Yeah. Oh, I don't even know, mate. My maths gone. Too many bumps.
17?
Yeah. So I would have been... I think I was around about 20... Charlotte. It was before I met Charlotte. 19, 20. Must have been about that, 19 or 20.
Still quite young then.
Yeah, but I had, from that five, say I was 20, that's 5 years. With Rob, I was with Rob probably for a good 2.5, because I was like his guy. Do you know what I mean? Like I was essentially his guy at the time. I was the one would. I know I always done this, like there was a lot of lads at the school who would sit and have a chat and a chinwag. But if I've got the old like DVDs of the training school, I've still got them, like ones what actually work, but they filmed every week. The two guys what ran it was called a guy called Jag and a guy called Ben, and they were the ones what got Rob in and all that lot. So that was like a fantastic experience, and they filmed it for us so we could watch back, which was brilliant. And like if you watch the old tapes, like or the old DVDs, I would just be like that, and I would sit on the edge of like we were at Urban Martial Arts. Do you remember that place or not?
Yeah.
You know, I think Kwok Wang's gym and that. Yeah, but we were there, and we would sit just on the wall bit there, and I would sit there for like 3 hours. Yeah, 3 hours and 50 minutes. I'd get on the mat, and I'd do it perfect. And Rob would go, all right, mate, get off the mat. And I'd be like, should have just like messed up or something. But like, if you watch the DVDs back, I'm always watching. I'm never talking. I'm always watching. And I think that's what's led to me being able to teach. You know, because I always kind of, why did that go wrong? Or why did that not work, sort of thing. So yeah, that was kind of my way into it. So to say about how I was as, how far did I get? I got on the circuit. I done shows across England. I'd done some summer camps, which was a fantastic experience. You know, it was like, you know, 1,000 people each show pretty much at Haven, and this is when they had like All-Star had Haven, and they had like the Butlins. And like wrestling, no word of a lie, like 20, probably 2 times a day, 6 days a week. You know what I mean? And then some days are triple, which is just insane to think about. It's not the wrestling. The wrestling's easier. It's getting the ring up, getting the ring down. You know, especially when you got like 300 kids running around, you got to worry about smacking them with a ring post and that, you know. So it was manic, but it was it's the funniest experiences I have of wrestling, you know, apart from when I was a kid, you know. So it was just incredible to do that, you know.
And this is what you did for a job, was it, at the time?
No,
did you get paid for it?
I got paid for it, yeah. Like, so it's the problem now, I think, for a lot of the guys. Apart from WWE, and there's a couple of companies like TNA, but that's kind of like a WWE thing now, or AEW and that. Apart from them, there's no real full-time living on this. There's no full-time living. I imagine there's a couple of probably old territories in America still going. I'm not sure, but there's no full-time living. So for the guys and here was the big thing about Rob, because you don't do it for nothing. You have to be paid. But when I was in it, I was like, I wasn't good enough. You know what I mean? So and there's so many guys what go, I'll just do it for free. You know, I imagine that's probably in fighting as well. Some guys will probably just fight for free. You know, I mean, they won't be good level.
Yeah, if you look at the amateur scene, I mean, other than getting a bit of ticket money.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. But like with what I do now, I'm apart from my brand new guys who I'm just giving kind of a little bit of thing, I'll make sure I give someone something. You know what I mean? They have to get paid for it because it is your body on the line, and it's not going to change your life. It's not going to be enough to go out and get anything of substance really. You get yourself 3 or 4 pints, and you know, if you're at the Spoons, you know, see what sort of level I'm talking about. But what I mean is, he was adamant on that. But so I was in a predicament where we needed to get paid, and it's my own fault. I should have got out there more, but at the same time, I was bound by him because his thing was, you know, I'm teaching you. You need this money. Yeah. But this money was too much for what I was. Yeah. And especially when you got all these guys, I'll do it for nothing. And for a promoter, he's like, well, it's free then, isn't it? Yeah. So it was difficult. And that was what I was bound by. I was like, I would have got on way more shows and probably got on more of a name if I just said, okay, I'll just work for free. And gained all that sort of experience. And I probably would have got further. But at the same time, I would have probably alienated the guy, one of the greatest wrestlers ever. So I was stuck in a bit of a predicament. Yeah. But again, you know, I teach people. If they want to go and do what they want, then you go do what you want. You pay me to teach, I'll teach you. Yeah. I'd advise you. But generally with the guys what I've got, they deserve something because they're good standard. Yeah. They are a good standard, and it doesn't happen overnight. Some of these lads I've had since, like I know Elan, like he comes to, been doing some grappling and that with you guys. I'm riding. Yeah. I've had him since I was like 14. Yeah. You know, it's a long investment to do it right, and I do it, and that's why it's called from the ground up, because I do it slow process, and I'm really lucky to have a mixture of I learnt my bumps and my moves over at rugby, and then I went with Rob and he taught me like the psychology and how to kind of stand out and be a bit of a character and how to connect with the crowd and the British style, which is just dead. Like there's a few that can do it, but to do it the right way, there's not many anymore. And I've got all of this kind of cocktail, you know, I've got all this cocktail, and so yeah, that's kind of like the level I got. I never got over, but to be fair, if I had, you know, there's probably about 15 wrestlers working on shows right now. What wouldn't been working on shows, so or they might have found somewhere else. But what I'm saying is, for what I didn't get to, I think it was meant to be. You know what I mean? I do. I think it was meant to be, mate.
So, what do you say to people who think that wrestling's fake?
The pro wrestling, what I did, it is fake. It's not real. It's not real. I don't think it's been real for years. I think the word fake offends people, and I think that's the thing which I used to when I was younger. I was like adamant. Oh, well. I think the thing is with it, we're not. There's no one in wrestling which is trying to hurt the other person, you know, if they're good at it or they're a professional person. So when people say is wrestling fake, I think that's portrayed that we're trying to say that we are. I think the WWE's made it very clear now it's entertainment. I think for years they have. I think back in the day it was protected because it needed to be, because they were making money, and the thing that sold it was people went in and they believed it was real, and it was selling those tickets. So the wrestlers took those tickets is their pay, so they took that really serious. But that's changed. That's gone. It's been gone for years. I went on BBC Leicester, Radio Leicester. The lady asked me that, and I kind of like smiled, because I get this thing. A lot of people will downplay it. So just to clarify, everything that we do within moves-wise, getting thrown on the mat, it all hurts. Even running the ropes, it hurts. When you see the person running to the ropes, it hurts, you know. In WWE, it's elevator cable with a tubing on. Most of the British scene, and I imagine most of the American indie scene, it's rope wrapped in electrical tape. That's what it is. So you're getting hit with rope. There's no part of it from a physical point of view what's fake. And then the lady obviously went in and she said, "Oh, what would you do that?" And she wanted a response. And she said, "What?" Some people say, "Well, how can you watch it then if it's not real?" And at the time when I did the interview, I was like, "What's the biggest film at the cinema right now?" And it was Endgame. Yeah. I was like, did anyone stand up in Endgame and go, "Hang on a minute, Robert Downey Jr., I don't think he can fly"? You know what I mean? Did anyone ever do that? No, they didn't. Yeah, because they went to see a film. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what wrestling is. You go to see what it is. Yeah, and it puts on a show like no other. And I was saying this earlier, like, there's nothing like it. There is nothing that. I think film's the closest thing, but even film, you got stunties, you've got camera shots, you've got CGI. Yeah. There's no CGI in this job. It's guys essentially beating their bodies up for entertainment, and they're trained and they do it well, and you're there to look after each other, and you're there to come out with it. It's no, you know, there's Coronation Street what's been running, there's EastEnders what's been running, and this is no different. The only thing is the word fake can offend people, because when you're in it and you're getting bashed around, you know, to hear someone say, "Oh, it's fake," yeah, it probably can hit a nerve. But if you want to believe it's that, great. You know, "Oh, it's fake, it's a load of rubbish." Good for you. Yeah. I don't care. Yeah. It doesn't affect me, because what I'm there to do is the people what want to do it and want to come and see it, I'm there for them. I'm not there for these people what have a negative, old-fashioned opinion, you know, of things. "Oh, it's a load of rubbish." Well, don't watch it. Yeah, you know, you're not going to bother me.
Yeah, it's a good outlook to have. So what were some of your characters then back when you were wrestling on your shows?
So on the shows I was on, here's the big problem, I think, in British wrestling, and it's always been this problem. There hardly isn't any characters. So when the shows, when I say All-Star, so like All-Star would have, like, you had Gangrel on there, who was like a WWF guy, the vampire guy. I'd be on the same show as him. I'd be on the same show as Bryan Danielson, who at the time he used to, and a guy called Chad Collier. And what these guys would do, I think Bryan Danielson was Ring of Honor champion at the time, which was a big deal in America, big indie company. He would come over here and he'd stick on like flares. Yeah, and I remember that. He just put on like flares and he put a mask on, and he'd call himself the American Dragon, and he would just sing the national anthem. Yeah. And everyone would boo him just because he's American. That was the character. He was just American. And there's a guy called Chad Collier, and he used to wrestle as Metal Militia. Same thing. They put him in a mask. He'd do all the national anthem. Just incredible workers, like incredible wrestlers. But back in the day, there wasn't that many characters. And that's kind of what I'm doing at my school now. I'm focusing on the characters. There's so many characters at my school. Yeah. It's kind of gone from what I loved about wrestling was like the characters, and then I started getting into like the moves and the technical side. Oh, that's incredible. But then when I look back, the only thing I really remember is the characters. Yeah. So when I was younger, there was good wrestlers and there was characters, but no one really stands out. Like the guy who taught me, Robbie Brookside, he wasn't even. It was weird. It was like. And I've been on shows loads, like literally loads and loads of times with this guy back in the day, and he's come off like double knee surgery. Yeah, he's had both of his knees basically scraped out, and He's come off and he's limping, he can barely walk. And he's gone out there with another guy, a wrestler called James Mason, who's known amongst the scene. Incredible. One of the best ever British guys, and still going. Incredible. And he's gone out there, and they've gone out as basically, we call it blue eye. So they've gone out as, both of them are decent guys. Yeah. Rob would walk around that ring, and this is another thing. And it'd take him 10 minutes before he got in the ring. Yeah. And he had the ability to do that because he's Robbie Brookside, so the promoter would have leeway. He'd literally walk and introduce himself. A lot of people would know who he is. He'd talk to everyone. Then he'd get in the ring. And then James would do the same and that. And they would go out there and do nothing. And I mean nothing. No big moves, nothing. And they would have the crowd, by the end of it, on their feet. And what Rob was very good at was being Rob. His character was just being really, really, genuinely a likeable guy. You know, and then when he went to Germany, it'd be the opposite. You know what I mean? But from a character point of view, like it was just amazing to see. The guy would have the loudest reactions on the shows to no moves, really. Just him getting the crowd in. That's because he's gone round and he's connected with everyone. Yeah. So, but to get back in the day, like on the shows I was on, I can't really remember loads of characters. There was a lot of guys now which went on to do stuff.
But I mean, your characters as well. What characters did you play?
I was just basically whatever was needed, and I think that was the thing. Like, Rob would say to me, like, he wouldn't say like this sort of thing, but he was like, it's not WrestleMania, mate. It's just it's a match. You move on, you know. And he would, like, when I'd done stuff wrong, he would grill me on it, you know. And on the car ride home, he would grill me on it, and then. But with me, if you wanted me to be a bad guy, I'd be a bad guy. You know, I'd go out and But he would always be adamant on, don't go out there and just tell people to shut up. He goes, what reason have you got? You know, what reason have you got to go out there and be like, you shut up? Like, who does that? No one does that. Yeah, go out there, get in the ring, give them nothing to like about you, yeah? But don't give them something to hate about you, yeah? And then the good guy comes out, yeah, he's all happy and that, everyone likes him, yeah? So then when I'm doing stuff in the ring, yeah, and then when he's doing it and they're cheering him, now I've got a reason to dislike him because this is, you know, competition to me. Yeah. So now I'm like, well, hang on a minute, you lot, we're all basically love this guy. Why do you love this guy? Now I have a reason. It's like a genuine reaction to it. Yeah. And it was hard because everyone would go out there and go, shut up, and they're instantly get booed. Yeah. But Rob would be adamant, you do it in the ring, you make that happen in your ring, you know, so. But like character-wise, within the British scene, there's not that many back in the day, I don't think. But I would do whatever they needed. They wanted a good guy. They wanted a bad guy. They wanted me to have a boring match. And this is a weird thing. Promoters would say to you, just bring the crowd right down. Yeah? Because they're before the main event.
Right.
So bring them right down. So you imagine Metallica, yeah? The Metallica starts its songs, yeah? It starts with a big one like, I don't know, Master of Puppets or something. Boom, everyone's into it, yeah? Just before the last song, which is probably going to be Enter the Sandman or something, yeah? They play Enter the Sandman and then play a rubbish song at the end. They're never going to do that. Yeah. So bring the crowd down. Your job's to basically just get them quiet, let them go toilet, let them have a drink, yeah? Enjoy it, put it on, make it believable and do your work, but don't overshadow because you want that main event to go off. Yeah. And it's like going to, you know, a fireworks show and them letting off big fireworks. And here's the issue with wrestling now, to me, and this is my opinion, it's no one else, but most of the shows now, go out there and do what you want. So everyone is going out there and going for it. It's amazing what they can do, but they're going for it. Bang, bang. And it's like going to Abbey Park's firework display and them letting off fireworks all night. Yeah. By the time you're an hour in, you're fed up. Yeah. Don't matter how good it is. Oh,
yeah,
Jesus.
It's true.
So you have to build suspense, isn't it? It's like anything, you know. It's like UFC, you know. They put the main event on first, and then they put the prelims on last. They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
You know, it's clever, but no one understands that. Everyone goes, oh, they had a... I used to get feeling, oh, they had a right... It was a boring, the crowd were dead or it weren't a good match. That's what we were told to do, you know? That was our job. That's the way that you'd work the show. You're working the crowd, you're working the fans, you're working the show, so...
So what age did you kind of knock all that on the head and decide you were going to be a coach?
So there was a period where I went to WWE. I did a summer camp. And it was great. And then nothing happened. and I was waiting. And I must have waited for 6 months, nothing. Because there wasn't like loads of shows back then. There's a lot more shows now, but I was just waiting. And I just got fed up of it. And I was like, you know what? Like, I need to get a job. I'm trying to do a bit of both, but I just went and got a job, so I just left. Yeah. And then I think it was, when would it have been? Either 2013, it could have been before that, 14. Rob rang me, because he used to ring. We used to go out, we have a few beers and that. A few too many sometimes as well, you know. And he rang me and he said, I'm going to America. Basically signed a contract to go and teach at the Performance Centre over there. I said, okay. He goes, I've got my mate Darren Walsh, who's another incredible wrestler. He's the biggest human being I've probably ever seen in my life, mate, this guy as well. You know, and I've seen some big guys, but Darren from a thingy, he's just huge. He'll walk into a room and everyone's staring at him. It's massive. And Darren was a great guy, but he was like, look, Darren's coming in to take over. How do you feel about coming back, just helping him for a bit? So I was like, well, yeah, all right, gives me a reason to come back. And I always help Rob. If he ever said, there's a new guy, go help him. I always enjoyed teaching. I always enjoyed sharing and getting them. And then when I seen them do it, I was like, you know, like it felt like I did it, you know. So I did that, like 2014, I think. And then I was there for 3 years. And then Darren left. And then I was basically in a predicament where I was like, I was kind of just doing all the teaching, but I weren't getting the money for it, if you know what I mean. So I was in a weird format. And Rob was gone. He'd gone like to America. His life changed. He's moved on basically from what he had in Leicester. And I was doing kind of that. So I was like, hang on a minute. And there was a lot of things I wanted to do, but I couldn't do it. You know, and I'm a control freak, massive control freak. Like when it comes to things, like I need to have like control of it. So I was like, you know what, 2017, I'm just gonna try my own thing. And I did. And I was fortunate to have all the guys what I'd been teaching were like, well, yeah, we're gonna come with you and do that. So 2014, I was doing it for 3 years. And then 2017, it was like my own. And that's when I, you know, went to the store room, in Leicester, and met the guys, CrossFit guys there, and they were nice enough to rent, you know, space for me. And you know, we had to start all over. We had an 18-foot wrestling ring, which was a part of the old club, and I left everything. And I bought 4. My mum and dad lent me the money, and we bought 4 roll-out mats, not like judo, a little bit softer, and that was it. I bought like that thick crash mat, and I started literally from the ground up, mate. And then we started like kind of running shows and stuff like that. But the coaching's always been something I've enjoyed, you know, and it takes time, but I can see that all the time that I've spent on it and the years, it's like paid off in a way, because I've got, like I say, I must have there's a definitely good 10 guys working elsewhere now, doing their own thing, and they're good, their standard's good, you know. So in a way, like me, like I was saying before, like me not getting to where I necessarily wanted, it's my own fault. I should have tried harder. I should have done different things. There's a lot of things you can look back on, but I'm not angry about it. I'm not disappointed. I'm actually, in a way, happy, because what I'm doing now is, I think I would enjoy what I'm doing now more than being in WWE and doing that schedule and doing that. Like, you know, the money's great. But and being, you know, and actually getting there, obviously, if I ever had the chance or I ever was good enough to do it. But the schedule, like even those summer camps, like even if you did 1 week, I remember the first one I did a week. I did the Easter, like half term or whatever, the Easter break. I did a week. And I was like, what is this? You got to really love wrestling. Yeah. You got to really love it, because it's just like you're constantly in the van. You're setting up a ring, putting the show on, taking the ring down. You're grinding yourself down. By day 6, you're beaten up, and you're living with people who don't, like, some of them there were great. Some of them you can't stand, arrogant, you know. So now you're in this, and that's, in a way, I imagine that's essentially WWE, but you're paid more, you know. Yeah. It's hard. It's a hard lifestyle. Those guys, like, all of the wrestlers what do that, like, they love it. They love it, and it's amazing to see how dedicated they are. I don't know if I got there and I would have ran it. I probably would have, because I was a bit obsessive, but I think it would have been a lot harder than people think. And I think that's the thing. It's doing it all the time. It's harder. Like coaching now, for some of the lads at school, come to the school and that, I can only make it down once or twice this week. I got a full-time job in the day, yeah. I coach 4 times. I coach 5 sessions a week at the school. I'm promoting 20 odd wrestling shows all over Leicestershire and all over like the kind of East Midlands area. And I've got 2 kids and and a wife, and I'm trying to juggle all of this, and these lads can't make it down 2 times a week for a couple of hours. Yeah. How much do you want this?
It speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Yeah. But the ones what want it, and that's fine, because for everyone what wants it, you need the others which necessarily don't, but they pay. They're paying your rent, and that's not to say it's not important, because with wrestling, with what I do, it's like it changes people. Like, it builds their confidence. Like these kids, some of the kids I've got in the kids class, when they first came, they wouldn't say a word. They didn't want to come in. Now they're messing around, they're fighting with each other, they're having a right laugh. Because it's a confidence building thing. It's all about wrestling, especially for their level. It's just fun and silly, and that's what, that's what I get out of it. I've got all these kids and I've got the adults. We've got quite a few adults there now, and I'm very lucky to be where I am, but also I work really hard for it.
Yeah, sounds like it. What's the class look like then? How's the classes structured? Between like technique, like the character building side of things, and etc.
It's hard. I think it's hard at the minute. I've got quite a lot of new guys and stuff. So to put on, like, we've got like beginners classes and stuff, so they're kind of structured differently. Like with the guys, normally we get in there and we just get a warm up going. We essentially do what they would do at the performance centre. Like, they'd sort of the drills there to get people like basically warmed up and stuff. And then it depends, like, I'm the sort of person what I would rather do one thing right and stay on that so everyone's got it kind of right. And if the people who have got it right, they then drill it. You know what I mean? They get it, like, they get miles on it. I'd rather do one thing right than like 3 things and then 2 of them okay and 1 thing. I'm very much on that. Like, so with the guys, depending on what I'm doing, it all depends on who's in the class sometimes, because as you know, like, it can be hard, because you can put in like the training group or whatever who's training, and you've got like 4 new guys and 2 guys what have been with you for years, and you've got to try and give those 2 guys which they want, give them something, but also benefit the newer guys. The newer guys, it's easier. It's the actual experienced guys it's harder, because you've got to try and give them some in there at the same time as give them that, but you can't teach 2 different things and watch both.
So what do you do in that situation then?
So I'd get, and this is a big thing on me, I think for me, with the more experienced guys, I'd have them paired up with a lesser experienced guy. And then I'd see leave them kind of a little bit coaching away, helping in a way. Because here's my big thing, and I said it earlier, you get very good at this when you understand why people aren't good at it. Because you understand all of the little breakdowns, all of the little reasons why things are going wrong or not, not perfect. But then I'll also then give them a challenge or something. The more experienced guys will say, "Oh, you go in the ring and you have a match with this guy," and the guy shouldn't be in the ring at this point. He's very basic, but make your end, believable, and you hold your end. So it's kind of like them learning how to work with people who aren't good enough, and that's a lot of wrestling. You'll have a lot of guys where you're working with them. It's different in grappling. I imagine at sessions, in the training sessions, it's probably similar. But obviously, if that guy isn't as good as you, great, we're going to win. But with what we do, like, you're only as good as your opponent. So if Rob was a big thing on this, if you make him look terrible, he used to say different words, but if you make him look terrible or rubbish, then and you win, you've beat rubbish. You've beat nothing. I think, and that's the problem, isn't it? It's all good. Like, I've followed, obviously, we'll talk about probably Jake in a bit, but I followed like the amateur scene a bit when he was doing it, and if you could clearly see the mismatches, and when those mismatches happened, the guys like still celebrating, like yeah, and you think to yourself, yeah, but your record's now just. It doesn't mean anything. As much as it's good experience to get out there and all that lot, but those names are not the names that you want them to be. You want to be able to build traction on guy. That's a good fighter. Or that guy, he's similar to me. He'd be a good fighter. So when you beat him, you've beat someone. You feel accomplished. But if you get in there and you beat, it's like you rolling with, I don't know, a white belt or something, and beating them and getting off the mat and being like, yes!
Yeah, that's what I do.
When you're feeling down and that, you just do that.
Boost my day a little bit.
But do you know what I mean? Like, that's not helping him. It's not helping you, you know? It's nothing. And that's kind of like the same sort of thing. With the lads, like, a lot of them are great. Like, and I do have designated, like, sessions where I push them. But those ones also, it's a hard one because sometimes I'll go into that session and I'll go, oh, we're doing there. And then you can see them like, oh, God, like, not there. So, like, you know, like, they don't even want to do that, you know? But unfortunately, you've got to do it. Yeah. From a character point of view, I've never been a massive character. So for, like, promos and, you know, talking to the camera and that, I was never, like, really big on it. I try to be believable. That was my job, like, believable. So, like, I would be... If I'm angry, you know, if I'm thinking, and I wouldn't be like hokey or anything like that. But there's room for everything in wrestling. That's the beauty of it. So I've got the two lads at the school. Basically, the biggest character kind of guys I've got is a guy called the Vegan Prescott. Yeah, and he wears like a dicky bow and that. Yeah, and he's essentially like obnoxious, you know, and annoying. Like, and he's, to be fair to him, he's not necessarily been there as long as some of the guys. But I can tell you something, when he leaves, everyone remembers this lad. Yeah. He's very good from that point of view. He puts out content which is very good. And then I've got another lad, Chocolate Thunder, who's the same. He's like really vibrant and he's really flamboyant. And people remember these guys. And I've got all the characters and that and all the wrestlers who are on there, and everyone's a bit different. But from those two normally run like a Thursday night kind of character class.
Right.
If I'm not good at it, or if I'm not better than, say, you at it, then I can't do it. You got to do it, you know. So those lads then run it for me. Yeah, so like, that's structurally wise, it changes. Like, I'll have set things, like I work in the like prison service. Yeah, I'm not a prison officer or anything like that, but I work within the service, and I'll sit on a live wing, yeah, in a prison, yeah, which is hectic. Not be doing my classes. You know why? Everything's going off, you know? It's just, and I mean, it's manic. Yeah, it's manic. But I'll be there trying to write my classes in that environment, you know? And sometimes I'll get it all down for weeks at a time and it'll go fine. And then sometimes I just can't get it. So I'll turn up and I'll wing it. Yeah. But the beauty of what you do with it is that as long as you're teaching something right, it doesn't matter what you're teaching, people are going to learn. As long as it's not the same thing over and over and over again. So... But yeah, it's kind of like I'm loose with everything, and I have to be kind of loose with everything, because like with the shows, with the amount of shows we run and the school, if you're kind of looser with it and things don't go a certain way, and this is within the ring as well, the way we were taught. Don't be so set on what you're doing, you know, just, you know, all rehearsed and all that lot. Because if the crowd don't like it, now you're doing something that they don't like, and you're so fixated on, oh, I've got to remember to do this, I've got to remember to do that, that you're not now, you're not caring about what's important, which is the crowd, what's paid. You know, everyone forgets that. I think that's the thing. They've paid to see you. You know, so, like, your job is to entertain them. Simple, that's wrestling. You know, and when you start believing it's about, oh, me and him need to, you know, do everything that we've got planned, and I see it all the time. I see it on the internet and on socials. These guys are killing themselves. And what they're doing from a physical point of view is incredible. But the crowd's quiet. Yeah. So why are you doing it? You know, because you're catering to the wrong audience there. You're catering to yourself. And my thing's always been, if you can get the crowd up behind you and they remember you. They're the ones who are going to buy you merch. They're the ones who are going to remember you. They're the ones who are going to cheer for you or boo you. You know, it's kind of like that. So.
Do you have lads that cross train in other things as well? I know obviously you've got Elan and Ryden have done jiu-jitsu with me. Do guys do a lot of strength training and anything like that?
Yeah, like the lads, I've got like Harnish and that. He's got, like, most of the guys what really want to get anywhere. And I'm not to say that some of them don't, but I think the confidence and the self-belief is not there yet. And this is one thing that, you know, my older guys don't really understand. They go, yeah, but these guys ain't like... You weren't that. I seen it, and I remember it, but it takes time. Some people it takes longer than others. So with, like, the guys who are now getting... You get some guys, they come in and they go, okay, I'm going to get a PT. I'm going to get a strength and conditioning. I'm going to get a nutritionist. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go for it. And you get them. Then you get the ones what don't believe they're good enough to do any of that. And then their confidence is so low, because wrestling can be a bit of an introverted thing. You know, there's a lot of fantastic wrestlers, and you put them in a social environment, it's awkward. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you've got like a weird librarian in the corner, and that guy goes out wearing trunks and lycra and stuff, and you're like, well, so it's different. So with some of the lads, like the older lads, like Harnish, like Elan, a lad called Ryden, and there's Will. I've got a lot of guys who've been with me for a long time, and Neil. They hit the gym, they train really, really hard, and they're understanding that the aesthetics of what wrestling is important as well. And then they're training really hard on stuff like that. I know that some of the lads train elsewhere and try and better themselves that way. So there's a lot of them that, but most of the guys, some of them just need to believe in themselves, and that's kind of my job as well. It's like I'm like a weird kind of hybrid thing where I've got to kind of make these guys believe in what they do and tell them that they're good enough, So, but yeah, that kind of.
Okay. What fundamentals do you think that everyone should master within pro wrestling? You speak a lot about that, being from the ground up.
Yeah. So, I think footwork, for me, your footwork's at everything, yeah? And also, it's not really a fundamental thing, but just slow down. Everyone's too fast. It's just too... And everyone thinks, oh, you're only saying that. But no, mate, when I first started learning how to drive, he didn't put me on the motorway. Yeah, and even if I wanted to go on the motorway, I wasn't allowed, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I didn't, yeah? But it's no different in a way, like, I'm in charge of that person's health. They're in charge of my health. So, it's not about me, it's about both of us, And for me, good footwork, relaxing, it's a weird thing from fundamentals, I just tell everyone to relax. I say it's not like the old WWE Tough Enough. It was never like that. I've never done it like that. Yeah. I've never battered my guys. I've never beat them up like Rob used to be. And he was again an incredible coach, but he put us through it, and I mean through it. And he knew we were training at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. So an 18-year-old lad training at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. What do you think I was doing on the Saturday night? I'm out. Yeah. And he's making us do rolls, and I'm throwing up in the bin, and I'm doing I'm doing like 60 rolls every Sunday morning. So he'd make me go out on a Friday. You know what I mean? I'd move my day out, so I couldn't go out. There'd be times where I'm literally just he'd mull you, and he'd do it. He would be tough with it, and that. So the fundamentals for me is just basically good footwork, and the technique and all that lot is different. It's not like it just happens over time. Yeah. If your technique's bad in what you do, then you're going to clearly know it's bad in what you're doing, because you're not going to be able to do what you're trying to do. Yeah. With pro wrestling, it's kind of working together. So the guy, if your technique's bad, the guy could be going along with it, which is not helping you in a way. But that's kind of what the job is, So my fundamentals is just like footwork and just taking your time. I'll give you everything else. I've got the general knowledge to be able to, give you a good foundation. That's what I've got.
Yeah. What do you think separates someone from being like a hobbyist to making it?
You just got to want it. That's it. You just got to want it. You got to eat, sleep and breathe it, You just got to go for it. And it's hard. There's guys who are older and they've got full-time jobs and they're grinding. Yeah. It's a difficult thing. This is one of the hard. To me, it's like I said, there's 3 major companies at the minute, full-time. You've got Japan, but that's hard as well. So there's 4. I would say there's 4 major companies, and that's not a lot of room for the world. There's a lot of pro wrestlers, aspiring pro wrestlers, but you've got to do everything you can. And you've also got to push yourself out of your comfort zone. That's always the thing. That was always the thing what was pushed to me. People stay in the comfort zone. And then the comfort zone stays the same size. With me, I was, the things that, when I was on the camps and the things I had, these guys are nuts, you know what I mean? Some of these older guys, mate, some of them should be locked up, you know what I mean? They were mad. It was like living, because all they'd done all their life was this. Yeah. They had no work. They had no experience to the outside kind of world. They had their own bubble, and within their bubble, they were kings in a way. And no one told them, hang on a minute, that's out of order or whatever. So I was with that, but I also was brought up in an environment where I knew what was right and what was wrong, and I knew kind of how you should be and how you shouldn't be, and these guys didn't have any of that. So yeah, it's hard. It's a hard thing to do, but you've got to push they pushed me into outside of my comfort zones, and it was in a way that probably wasn't like now would be frowned upon, but that's what made me gain a lot of confidence in the long run. The hard work, what you do now, will pay off later. Yeah. And it wasn't work, it was like torture in a way, like hazing and bullying and stuff. But it made me relax. It made me basically comfortable in areas that I weren't comfortable. And we, like, after a while, like, with the guys at the school, and this is the thing, if you're great in the ring and you can do everything in the ring and you're not great on the mic, don't worry about the ring anymore. Pick up the mic. Yeah. Go find a guy who can teach you acting. Go find an actor. Go get someone who knows what they're doing. Like, you know, go to a professional, a guy what stands in front of the camera all the day. You know, find the most charismatic guy on a wrestling show and speak to him. Oh, how do you do that? How do you do that? That's what you should be focusing on, because that's your weak point. You get to WWE, they're going to go, I want you to go do that. Yeah. I want you to dress like a frog. Yeah? I want you to dress like a frog. Well, no, I'm serious. Okay, go in then. Yeah. No one's here to be, like, 99% of the guys are never themselves. They have to be what they're told to be. Yeah. And if you're willing to do that, you'll have a job with them if you're good at it. And most of the time, the thing what WWE, and it was about back this when I had a tryout, they want to see personality, because that's what's going to sell tickets. They don't care. They don't care about how good you are in the ring. They've got a performance centre over there, what they can teach you with the best coaches in the world. You know, so to me, it's out of your comfort zone. If you're really good on the mic and terrible in the ring, train on the ring stuff, the foundation stuff, the mechanics of it, you know? So, yeah.
Who were your biggest success stories?
I've got difference, because there's a lot of guys. I've had a hand in quite a few people. There's a girl over in America, Rob's daughter, Zaya Brookside. I had a hand in her training. She's signed to TNA. And there's a lad called Jack. He's Jack Stars, but he wrestles as Jack Selstrom. Incredible wrestler. Like, from a fundamental point of view, believable, incredible. I've had a hand in him. He got signed by the WWE. So they're like proud moments. Like, obviously, I've got a guy called Jake who's now living in Canada with some bears or something. He's, to me, he's like the guy. There's weird. Every now and then you get one which turns up and you go, what's this? Yeah. And I remember, because I used to do some training at Shoot Fighters in Leicester, and I did like the BJJ class, and I remember seeing him there just before or after, I can't remember, being like that. And then one day he like rocked up to my gym. Well, not my gym at the time, but when we were in about 2000, I think it was like 2015 or something. He just turned up, and I was like, oh, you're that guy. And I'm a massive fan at this time, especially, of UFC and everything. Like, I love all those. Like, I watched everything. You know what I mean? I watched everything. And he turned up. And the thing about him was, for me with Jake, he's basically got a photographic memory. Yeah, he's told me that. He's basically got that. You could tell him something. Yeah.
Funnily enough, we were drilling one time in a class, and we drilled this move a couple of times, and he got bored, didn't want to do it. He said that. He said he had a photographic memory.
I think he has. And the reason why I say that is that if it's not photographic, it's like semi-photographic. You teach him something, and within a minute, he's got it. Or within 5 minutes, or a day, if it's a hard one, he's got it.
Yeah. Do you think that was from his grappling background?
No, I think it's his brain. I think his brain was wired, and it's weird. He came up to me, and I was like, "You do the fighting?" And he's like, "Cage fight." He's like, "Oh yeah." He goes, "Yeah, but the thing is, mate, I got into like the UFC and the grappling and that because I love Kurt Angle." Yeah. I was like, "What? That doesn't make any sense." He's like, "No, mate, I love Kurt Angle." I was like, I couldn't find a pro wrestling school, so I was like, I'll join a grappling school. I was like, you became a cage fighter because you wanted to be basically Kurt Angle in pro wrestling. He's like, yeah. I was like, that's a weird way you've done it. But yeah, that was kind of what you told me. He's like, love Kurt Angle. Yeah, he loved Kurt Angle, and so with him, it was always a pleasure. That lad. He's, I still speak to him now. He picked it up really quick. And there was a time I got him, I really pushed him. He's the only guy really what I was able to get a tryout. I was knocking and knocking.
Him doing it,
yeah, knocking and knocking. And it took me about a year to work on, basically the guy I needed to work on. And he got him one. And Jake said to me, he goes, what shall I do? I says, look, if you put on your CV, you put your pedigree of what you've got. Are you grappling, gold medalists and all this lot, in all different tournaments and that. Put all that lot on. Go there, do whatever they tell you to do. When you go to do the promo, do something ridiculous. Yeah, I mean it. Like, don't do, don't do like Ken Shamrock or I'm a tough guy or any of that. They will not want that. They won't want that. I'll tell you now. So he hired a mate. He's got a mate who's an actor. He hired a mate and he worked on it. And he sang My Little Buttercup. Yeah. Which is,
I'm pretty sure I didn't know that. I mean, I've got a terrible memory, but
I don't think he'd go around telling everyone that. Yeah? But he went in, and I think he's, instead of singing like My Little Buttercup, he sang My Little WWE Contract. Yeah, and he did the clicking. And Jake's a terrible singer. Yeah, which is even better.
Yeah,
because he's gone in, and I knew he would. He's gone in, and he will be able to do whatever they want. No one will blow him up. There is no, like, one lad's tried, few guys have tried, they won't blow him up. Because mentally his game's just next level. He's not going to blow up with what we do, And no one can blow him up. So he's going to be able to do that, no worries. What he does in the ring's decent. It's believable and it's good. And he's safe with it, He's a good worker. And then I was like, all right, you're going to go in there, they're going to look at your pedigree, they're going to be like, oh, grappling guy, fire, Because this is how they look at it. They're just going, fire, They're going to see it and go, oh yeah, he's not bad. But when you do that promo and it's crazily like stupid, or you've took yourself not serious, because everything about your life is serious right now, and you do the opposite of that, they're going to go, hang on a minute, this is good. And he did. He got a standing ovation. Yeah, Regal and all of them went up to him, clapped him, so it was amazing. The guy.
Were you there with him at the time?
No, unfortunately, no. But the guy who basically got him in for me, he messaged me saying the lad was brilliant. So, and it led to more and more jobs. It led to more and more work. He worked for a few times. But he went out in front of 19,000 people at the O2 Arena on SmackDown and fought a guy called Andrade and done everything he wanted, everything they wanted. And I think that was like his 5th wrestling match. His 5th wrestling match he's ever had. He's in front of 19,000 people. But he was good. Because what we done in training for the years, what we're doing, he was already at a good level, and he didn't have like proper pro wrestling gear. And I think a few of the guys there were giving him stick because they want to be that guy. Yeah. But the beauty of it is the fact that he didn't have the proper like pro wrestling gear, and he had like amateur boots, stands him out already. Yeah. And also Andrade's fighting a guy which looks like he can fight. So when Andrade beats him. Yeah, he looks like he's beat someone and not just a random guy, which would look terrible, Not just a generic pro wrestler. Because we all know this, and as much as and I know Jake hated this, but if we was to say to Jake, you go out there and beat him, Jake's going to go out there and beat him. And it doesn't matter how good most of these guys are. What you lads do in your world is a completely different thing. Yeah. And Jake, he was never that. He was never, do that. He's the most chilled out guy ever, So, but he's a very. I'm very proud of. I got to give him that opportunity,
Yeah.
Like that was like the one because I knew and it also no one ever had not even a smidgen of a teachable thing with him. That was 100% me. There's a lot of lads there now at the school and that are 100% me.
Yeah.
But he's immensely proud of what he did, to do that 5 matches in, and he was like, oh mate, I get more nervous doing this than cage fighting. I was like, you're mental. How can you be more nervous about this?
I could imagine that's more nerve-wracking, to be fair.
Yeah, but again, it's because it's out of his comfort zone in a way.
Yeah.
He's done the kickboxing, he's done the grappling. Yeah. I know there's a lot on the line with the fighting, but he's used to the environment. With 19,000 people at the O2, because I've been out there and it's eye-opening, Yeah. But he's a really proud moment. I've got the guys at the school who I'm producing now. I've got a guy called Chocolate Thunder. This guy, his name's Neil. I don't know what's happened. It's like he's had the worst looking life. He gets diagnosed with cancer. He loses all his beard, his hair. He's pushing, through that. Fair play to him, comes out of it. And then, a year after he's out of it, his wife dies of cancer. He's my age. He's 39. Well, no, he's 39, 40 years old. And I'm like, look, mate, you need to get back in it. And this is only recently. I think it's less than 6 months, 7 months ago. Now he's on the shows and now he's pushing. Like, to me, that's a proud moment. That guy, is that's a strong individual, mate.
Yeah.
And that, like, for him to find some sort of escapism in wrestling, brilliant. And he's great. He's a great guy. Like, I've got a lot of guys. I've got Elan, I've got Ryden, I've got like Matt and all these guys. I've got Will, Jordan. There's loads of guys at the school who I'm really proud of. There's no like big like, boom, I've got this guy, he's gone on to WWE and now he's a big star there. There's not that, but there's a lot of guys. Any of these guys on, like, especially like the Harnish and the Elans, and you know, there's Richard and that. Any of these guys on WWE's good day, they could be picked up. You know what I mean? They could be there. It's just a chance. It's chance. It's like anything. I imagine it's like UFC, and you'd be amazing. But if they don't see you or they don't clock you, it's hard. Or you haven't got that in, it's hard. It's a hard thing. But I've got like a lot of guys who have done really well, and their work is like a success story, because I see that they're now getting booked on more shows.
Yeah.
You know, like I had Eric Young, who's like a former WWE guy, he's a TNA guy, he's still in TNA now. He's incredible wrestler, a very diverse guy. If anyone knows wrestling, they know of this guy. And he's gone on with like Harnish, and they had a great match, and that's pressure. So that's a success. He went on with Elan, and he had a great match. You know, so there's a lot of like, for me, there's a lot of proud and success. You know, with Jake and all of the people who I've helped. Every time they go out and they get bookings elsewhere, it's just a compliment to me, because I've created that sort of thing.
That's what you want, isn't it, as a coach?
Yeah. It's hard because with pro wrestling it's different. With you, it's like, it's probably hard as well, because there's no real feedback. So you can be doing something and you can be like, am I doing it right? Yeah. But the feedback for you would be, well, this guy just got a silver, or this guy got a bronze or a gold. Yeah. But for me, it's like, okay, they're booked. Okay, they're booked again. Okay, that's like a bronze. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's difference. It's difference. Like, it's, if you get really good at what you do and you go to tournaments, you're going to see the success. Yeah. If you get really good at professional wrestling and you go to the shows, well, hang on a minute, his mates, like the promoters' mates, are all in, or I'll tell you what, I don't like him because he's better than me. There's all this weird politics and stuff. You know, it doesn't matter how good you are. But then hopefully there's some decent people there who are going to give people opportunity based on the fact that they're good at what they do. Yeah. So it's just a hard one. So
I was going to ask you a little bit about MMA, because I know you're an MMA fan. I was going to ask you who your favourite MMA person is, or fighter. But I've not even asked you who your favourite wrestler is. So who's your favourite wrestler?
That's an hard one, mate. I struggle. It changes a lot.
Yeah, like, I can imagine.
I don't know. Like, it changes from year to year. Like, I was a big Kurt Angle fan myself. I loved him because he was a guy what was legit. You know what I mean? He's an Olympic gold medalist, and he would be the most dumbest, stupidest wrestler on the show. He'd basically be an idiot. You know what I mean? But he was so captivating from his in-ring work. There's no joke. But everything else was massive crowd interaction, you know, and he was really up there. I loved Bret Hart. Like, Bret Hart from a technical standpoint is incredible, because as you, like, it's hard with wrestling. Like, you don't see how good people are until you start understanding it. And Bret was incredible for it. Like, everyone was like, oh, he's a bit boring. You watch the work that guy does. You watch everyone he wrestles, it will be their best match ever. Yeah. You know, he was so good at bringing people up to his level. It was just incredible. I'm a massive fan of Rey Mysterio for different things, you know, like, just incredible wrestlers. But they were like the three guys. Like, in England, there was a guy called, well, he's still about, but he don't wrestle, he's retired. A guy called Danny Boy Collins, and Rob as well, Robbie Brookside. But Danny Boy, I'd done a lot of seminars with him, I learnt from him. Just incredible in his day. And Finlay as well. Like, these guys were just amazing. Like, I don't know, it depends what mood you're in, isn't it? And that's the beauty of pro wrestling. It's so different. You can be like, oh, I just want to watch something funny, and you put on a comedy match, and you watch like a Les Kellett versus Brian Glover or Leon Ariza or whatever he was called back in the day. Like, you can pick. There's so many different varieties of it. But yeah, like, I'll probably say, to be fair, probably Ray. I think Ray's up there. It depends my age group. Yeah. You know, now looking back on Ray, I look at Ray and I go, he's had some amazing matches with everyone. And he's only little, you know what I mean? But he's incredible, you know. So he's not in a boring match when he's in a match, you know. So yeah.
You know, I came out as Stone Cold Steve Austin the other week.
Did you?
My grappling match, yeah.
You and Jake love this, don't you? Because I remember, mate, going to watch Jake fight at I think I seen him fight at Wolverhampton for I don't know what company it was, and I seen him fight at is it Whitwick or
Whitwick, yeah. That's gone now. It's been destroyed.
Yeah, I seen him fight there as well. And the first time he came out as like the Shield, you know, the Shield music, it was like Bravo, Tiger, and he would come out as that, and I'm like, what is this guy doing? And then he came out to HBK's I'm Just a Sexy Boy. And I'm like, and then when they grabbed the mic at the end of it, he's like cutting he's like, oh, I love pro wrestling. I was like, Jake in a cage. Like he's like, no, I love pro wrestling, mate. I love pro wrestling. And I'm like, why are you using your one moment like here? You can call out anyone. And he's like, no. I was like, and he's like trying to pop his lot by saying a load of pro wrestling stuff. I'm like, Jake, you've got your moment. But no, you do the same. You came out as Stone Cold then at this grappling.
Yeah, I just had a jacket on that Stone Cold jacket.
That's it, mate.
Yeah.
You got a Stone Cold jacket?
It's actually my cousin's.
Is it?
I was going to buy one. He had to get it from abroad though.
Yeah.
And I knew that he'd been to like Butlins or something with his mates dressed as wrestlers.
Yeah.
So
he's got one. Yeah, he's got one.
It was good fun. I actually used to come out to the game.
Yeah.
Triple H intro back in the day, MMA fights. I didn't do anything like crazy. I just came out to the music.
No, I can't imagine. I always worried about Jake. Yeah, it was a weird one. It was like a weird thing. I would always worry. I was like, you're not going to just forget what environment you're in, because he was like high skilled at both environments.
Yeah.
And I was like our job is to not put the pressure on or not choke people or when they do something to move with it, and your job's to do the complete opposite of that.
Yeah.
So I was like, I hope he can, you know what I mean? One minute you don't let guy off, and But no, that's pretty cool coming out Stone Cold. But that's what I'm on about, yourself, even now, the music that you choose to come out with, and Jake, and a lot of people, is still the things that you remember when you were younger.
Oh yeah, 100%, man. That nostalgia is like I said, I was never massive into wrestling, but me and my cousin and my mates, well, my cousin mainly and my brother, when we were kids, we had all the figures and that.
Yeah,
we were having the Bushwhackers figures.
Yeah, the
they did that with their arms. And then just watching it. Like I say, when I was a kid, I can't remember watching a lot. I just remember little bits, like you were saying. Maybe I'd go to my cousin's house and.
But those little bits kind of stick with you, don't they?
Yeah, it probably wasn't until I was a bit older, and I remember then when all the games on the PlayStation come out, and it was that era of Stone Cold and The Rock and guys like that. I just remember watching it a bit more then, but not really much since.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're into MMA. Who's your favourite MMA fighters to watch?
So I was into it like properly into it years ago. I love the Diaz brothers. I'd watch anything of them. Everyone's like, oh yeah, Nate Diaz. I was like, yeah, but you've not watched Nick.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of casuals.
Yeah. I was like, you've not watched Nick in Strikeforce.
That fight with Paul Daly is one of my favourite
incredible,
fights.
mate. Yeah. It's incredible. It's like the best one round ever, isn't it? It goes one, don't it? Or
yeah, I'm sure it's just the one.
Right at the end of the round, he rocks him, and then he goes to get his balance. Paul does, and just loses footwork and goes down. And I was like, but Nick, I liked everything that guy did, and the reason why I think I liked him is because he was real.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He wasn't corny. He wasn't like you. And this isn't a knock on Americans, but. Some Americans can be like, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, and it just comes across forced. But with Nick, you put a mic in front of him, he's like, don't want to be near it, you know what I mean? But when he's like, yeah, and then he gets in front of you, and you're like, this guy does not care. I know he does care, but there's no part of him what looks like he cares right now. Yeah. It don't matter that you could knock his head off right now. He's gonna talk a load of crap. Yeah. He's gonna get in your face, and I love I just loved seeing the difference. With him, he was always the guy where I'd go. He's putting his head up against the chin and just body work, and then head to the body and all that. I was like, it's just so no one's doing this. Yeah. No one's doing it. You could hit him with a sledgehammer and he's still coming for you. Yeah. And that was the thing that I really like. I really like him. He fought loads of guys. I think he fought that Cyborg guy as well. Nick did. He tapped him out. I can't remember. I think it was Strikeforce. It might have been Bellator. I don't know if Nick was in Bellator. I think it was Strikeforce, but he fought like loads of dangerous
I'm
strikers.
that fight myself, to be fair.
Yeah, he subbed him. He subbed him. He dropped him and then subbed him. But yeah, like the Diaz brothers, and I love those guys. Like I love the talk, and this is the big thing. This is the thing what I love about kind of pro wrestling in a way. There's two guys like Chael Sonnen. Yeah, incredible wrestler. You know, I think he was even at the farm, the Foxcatcher farm. He was there for a bit. He was talking about in an interview. He was there. Kurt Angle was there, and he was there. This guy's an incredible wrestler. But they're going to cut him, and he's on a winning streak. And they're like, oh yeah, you're just boring. So he just goes, oh, I'll just go pro wrestling. Yeah. And he starts saying ridiculous stuff. And I remember that stuff what Chael was saying.
The story about the Nogueira brothers.
Trying to feed a carrot to a bus. You know what I mean?
Epic,
but like he's doing anything he can to thing it. And then he gets and then he fights Anderson Silva and he backs it up. You know what I mean? No one did that to Anderson Silva. He was the first guy to do it. And he did it all the right way till the end, and then got caught in that triangle, and I was gutted. Yeah. But he for me with Chael, it was like he seen that what he had and the skills that he had wasn't enough. He needed to have people on him, and all he done was become a bad guy, a villain. He become a pro wrestling villain. Yeah. And he's doing stuff. He goes having a black belt with the Nogueira brothers. It's like getting a free toy in your Happy Meal, like lines like that. And you can tell he's just writing it all down. Yeah. But it's amazing. It's amazing to me because the guy, he found a gap in the market and he filled it. And then every Chael Sonnen fight, I wanted to watch. Like him and Bisping and all that lot. Who else did I really like? Obviously Anderson Silva. To me, Anderson Silva was like the closest thing you'd get to a modern day Bruce Lee. Yeah. The guy was throwing things out there which no one basically would ever hit. Yeah,
he had some of the best highlights.
Yeah, and you look at his highlights even in was it Cage Warriors, was it, or
Cage Rage?
Back in the day, yeah. Like with the upwards elbow and stuff. Yeah. I was like, well, this guy's incredible. Like, he was great to watch. He was great to watch. Like GSP was great to watch in different ways. From a technician point of view, he did everything right, But there's a lot of the UFC guys. Like now, so much, I think it's been overkilled, So I think the same story with Chael happened to that Colby Covington guy. I was just thinking. And he did the exact same thing. Yeah. And he made himself money. Yeah. Fair play to him. I can't knock him. And he had great fights. He had the fight with Kamaru Usman and that. It's just incredible grit. He's not just the mouth. He is backing it up. Yeah, maybe he loses, but he's not trying to lose, and it's not like he's just been beaten up and he's gone, Yeah. So those guys, from a heavyweight division, that used to be the most exciting division ever, didn't it? It still is in a way, but I don't really follow it as much. But when Lesnar comes in and you've got him, and
it's quite shallow though, the heavyweights. There was
the standard.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favourite fights was Cain Velasquez for a long time.
Yeah.
It broke my heart when he lost to
Dos Santos.
No, to Verdum. Yeah. The Santos one wasn't so bad because he just
quick,
got caught.
It was a flash,
you always felt like he was better. When he come back,
he made up for
it. You felt like he would beat him. Yeah, but the Verdum one, when he got subbed by Verdum, he did, and then knocked out by Ngannou as well.
Yeah, but didn't he get that? Wasn't that in Mexico and?
Yeah,
he didn't. And Verdum went there, didn't it? And then it was weird to see him just get beat that easily.
He just gassed hard. I think that's what was worse about it. He wasn't the normal superhero that he looked like.
And he wasn't the guy what would gas. That guy had a tank for days. But those guys I enjoyed. I'd watch if you go to Pride and that. I loved watching Fedor. I thought Fedor was the most exciting. So a lot of his fights were completely mismatches, but it didn't. Again, it was very pro wrestling Pride, so it didn't matter. But then again, you put him in there with bloody Mirko Krokop and. That was an even pretty much matchup, and or Nogueira, where Nogueira's probably lost about 90% of his brain cells from that fight. Yeah. Just Fedor it's just again, two contrasts, no personality. To a point, it was a personality. Yeah. So sometimes that's the thing, with pro wrestling, that you can be so deadly. Nothing, it becomes something. Yeah, and that's what Fedor was. I love that. His stare downs, or just him in the corner. He looked like he didn't even know. He didn't even know where he was. He wasn't even bothered.
There's that famous one with James Thompson and what's Fedor's brother called?
Oh, Alexander. Yeah.
Literally, it's him looking like he's just got out of bed.
Oh, yeah.
And then Thompson comes steaming across the cage and he knocks him out.
Yeah.
But they were two big heavyweights.
No, they were good. But he wasn't that big of a heavyweight, was he? I think he was closer to...
I mean, James Thompson was, though.
Oh, no, yeah, he was massive, mate. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, he was massive. But no, like with Fedor, he was like he could have cut to 205, but he just never did. Sure. You know, but no, he was like MMA-wise, like I said before, like the British lads I used to watch, I'd stayed up for the Ultimate Fighter. I would watch that. I think it was BT Sport at the time. I don't know if it was on BT. It was on something. I'd stay up and watch it. I watched the final and everything. I know we got like the Leicester. I don't know if Andre still lives in Leicester, but I watched him fight. I was a massive fan of him. Just his speed and his jabs and that. He was just. It was an exciting fighter to watch, you know. And it was great that he was from Leicester. There was two guys from Leicester, but I think one of them just studied at Loughborough. I can't remember his name, but there was two guys on that Ultimate Fighter what were from Leicester.
Oh, James Wilkes.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
But he lived in America.
Yeah.
He's trained down here.
Oh, is it?
He come back a couple of years ago because he's from Melton. His family's
so he is from Leicester way then. Yeah.
But I can't think how old he was. He said when he moved to America, but he trained under Eric Paulson as well.
Yeah.
He was obviously an absolute legend.
Yeah.
So.
But no, yeah, like all of those lads, I watched all of that. I love the fact that they just battered the American squad. It was like one-sided, and then Bisping got his head bloody sent to oblivion by Henderson. But again, a guy which knows how to run his mouth. He's not boring. Imagine having Dan Henderson against Matt Hughes on the Ultimate Fighter. Like no disrespect, because both of them are incredible. Like Dan Henderson is incredible, Matt Hughes is incredible.
Yeah,
that'd be boring. That'd be a boring thing. You needed someone with a bit of...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You needed someone with a bit of... You know, even if it's like... Even if the guy's a bit of a dick, you needed that. Because that's what thing is. That's why Chael and, these guys... You can see it, like a Colby Covington. They need someone with a bit of arrogance, or a McGregor, or one of these. Like they need someone like to keep it interesting.
Who's your favourite crossover from MMA?
Well, I'm not going to say CM Punk, am I? So, all the way around.
Well, yeah, the way around, coming from MMA to wrestling. You've got Ken Shamrock. What's his name? Matt Riddle.
Yeah, I think Matt Riddle's probably done the best. I think he's been. It's hard to think like right now, like who's come over, like. But I think Matt Riddle's done it the best because he was high level. He was on the UFC card. So what I mean by that is when I say high level, I don't mean like he was like elite level. But what I mean is he's on a UFC card and I think he won a couple of fights or something. Yeah. So for him to come over and do what he's done in pro wrestling, like the guy's learned it, he's a good worker and stuff like that. So I think he's probably been the most successful, if I can think about it. It's hard to think who really, like, because Cain Velasquez came over for a bit. Yeah. But he wasn't...
Tyson Fury? Although not from MMA.
No, terrible, mate. Terrible. I think Mayweather did really well. Yeah. Mayweather was at WrestleMania with a big show.
That Mayweather one.
And their little thing was great. It was great. Like, again, a guy what knows, like, if he's paid, he knows what his job is, yeah? But he did, like, that was an entertaining little feud they did, I think. Like, Cain Velasquez, I don't really remember much of it. I think it was a couple of matches and then they probably released him. It's a hard transition. Do you know what I mean? I think it's probably... It's as hard in both ways. I think... The thing is, if you go from pro wrestling to MMA, you can do that, yeah? And that will get eyes on you. It'll get eyes on you, yeah? If you go from MMA to pro wrestling, it's normally there, which you're not got. So, like... If you're boring, it don't matter if you're an amazing MMA fighter, like, and that was the thing. I think the most successful person to base it is Lesnar. There's no, but that size-wise, it's thingy. Like I always think about it. Everyone was like, "Oh, you weren't that great. You beat Randy Couture," and that was like, "Yeah, but he beat Shane Carwin after Shane Carwin killed him." Yeah. If that one moment there is he defended the title against Shane Carwin, who was on a tear, who was as big, I think he was just as big. Yeah. And he arm triangled him. Yeah. So he took all that punishing and still managed to arm triangle him. Yeah. So to me, that was like, he's solid, what's the word for it? Solidified himself. Yeah. I think so. I don't think he was the greatest. I don't think he was great. But I think what he did, he made them money. He definitely made them money. He put eyes on them. And then when he came back to WWE, he made them money as well. So, like, but from MMA to Shamrock would probably have to be up there, I would say. I think Shamrock's probably the most. I know Dan Severn came over, but it was different. I think Shamrock's probably the guy. If you was to look at it, probably Shamrock. He would be number one for me, just because he was the first to do it, really, and put it on the platform. And not only that, he wasn't an amazing pro wrestler, but he did get into the grind of it and understand what the job was. So I would say Shamrock. I would say Shamrock.
Most dangerous man.
Yeah.
But what shows have you got coming up then?
I've got loads of shows coming up, mate. Too many. Don't kill your question. No. I've got 2. I don't know when this will release, so realistically, I could tell you.
Yeah, we'll try and get it out. Wow,
no
my
pressure.
life's so busy.
Yeah, so say
by the end of the week it'll be
okay, so say the June. I'll look at June, because the ones we got some this weekend, but that'll be gone by then. We've got a Measham one on the 17th, and then we're in Braunston on the 18th, so we've got back to back. Then June, we've got Birstall on the 15th of June. Again, talking about social clubs and that, it's just something about the old social clubs, which it reminds me of wrestling.
Yeah.
And the beauty of them is that they're essentially dying out now. Yeah. And they're not the best of buildings and all this lot, and it's not perfect or ideal for what we're doing. It's not perfect or ideal. But what I do is with the shows, like, I charge £8 a ticket. It's basically £8 a seat. I do it by seats. I've never done like an adult and kids thing. I just do it by seats. How many seats can I fit in here? Times by 8. If they want front row, it's £12. But they get like a poster and that. I remember when I was a kid going to Parklands in Ober, which is now in Everyone Active.
Yeah.
And my dad taking me to watch a wrestling show. And it was an all-star show there. And I remember it cost him a fortune. It was like £10 a ticket. And that was a lot, you know what I mean? And this was before I must have been 12, you know what I mean? It was a lot of money. And then me wanting a picture with one guy, and I got like a Polaroid picture with this guy who was supposedly on WWE. No one's ever heard of him, but they build it like that. So, and I remember like for about 2 weeks after, like, we were broke. Do you know what I mean? That's how much this cost us. And in my head, I'm like, how good would it be to like try and do 2 things here? Like, put shows on for the guys to get better, because that's the only way you truly get better, is when you're in the live environment, like the real environment. Put shows on for the guys. Obviously, have crowds there, which is what you need to be able to put the shows on. So I've stuck it at like £8 a ticket, and I don't see it ever going up. It's an affordable, 4 tickets it's crazy. It's just like you go WWE, 1 ticket's going to cost you what? 10 of my tickets will cost.
Yeah.
But it's family entertainment, so like it's suitable for the kids. My daughter comes to them. I sit her basically either with me so I do like the music on the show and stuff. I'll sit her next to me and she'll just watch it. But it's pure family entertainment. And I run in Wigston, I run Whetstone, I run Birstall, Braunston, Ibstock. We've started running. I've got like a little contract going at Conkers, which is over in Ashby. Okay. We've got shows going all over there. I run Modified Nationals at Lincoln Showground, which is over the weekend in the Big Top 10. We're building all these different areas, and essentially not trying to do too much, because I don't want to kill. It doesn't matter how much you enjoy it. If it's there all the time, you just get fed up with it. So, but the show's coming up. The next one will be the Birstall one, so you can see it on our website, and all that lot. So, but it's great for 7. I've ran these shows for 7 years. You minus COVID out, say 6 or 5.5, and every show up till now is sold out. We've sold them all out, and they're not massive crowds, but we're fitting 170 people in, 200 people in, and we've never not hit. But the more shows I run, I imagine I will start to thingy. But as long as there's enough of a crowd there for the guys to get time and have a live experience, and also enough for me to cover the show, it'd be worth doing the show. Yeah. It's a good sell point for the school. Do you know what I mean? That's what it is. You come to the school, you train hard, you put the work in, you can be on actual wrestling shows and start learning the actual job.
Yeah, that's brilliant, mate.
Yeah.
Like I said, from the ground up, now I realise what a great name it is for your gym.
This is a great name.
Because you literally are working people from the ground up and getting them onto shows.
Yeah. I don't know why it just popped in there. I think it just did. like, it is who I am as well. I teach everything very slow. You will not come to my gym and fast track yourself onto a show within like the first couple of months. It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, it will not happen. Like, there's no, like, you think you're going to get in and you're going to get on shows, it won't happen. And that's like people go, oh, don't say that, it's not a good sell point, because people think that. I don't care. Like, if you come there expecting that you're going to pick this up overnight, it is not going to pick up overnight. Yeah. It's skill, it's an art form, it's knowledge, it's an understanding. And again, like I say, it's not about how good you are as you. There's another person there you've got to look after. Yeah. So it's a working thing together. With what we're doing now, like I said to you, I've got 2 kids classes going on. You know, we've got kids with SEN, you know, special educational needs, and really unconfident kids, and all different types of children. It helps that I'm a dad as well, I think, you know, being able to coach, because I coach basically from the ages of 7 upwards. Yeah. And like having that parent and that knowledge. Like, my daughter's 10 in July and my lad's 7 now. So, and also I'm a very silly individual, you know. Don't let the haircut fool you. You know, it's all about having a laugh and having fun, and I'm all about trying to build confidence, and I've done it with the adults, and now we've got a good kids class. I've got 25 kids there who train over the couple of the days now. From an adult point of view, we've got all different types of guys. I've got a guy whose wife bought him a beginner's course as a joke. Yeah. Yeah, and like, he's in his 40s, and now he's on shows, and he's good, and he's doing well, you know, like, but I've got, you know, I've got unconfident lads, I've got socially out there guys who have to calm down a little bit, just chill, and I've got, it's a really unique bunch. I've got people who are actors, who are on TV shows, and stuff like that, you know, like, they're actually on the telly now, or they're in films and stuff. And I've got all different types of individuals. I'm very lucky to have a couple of graphic designers what train under me, so I get like free graphics and stuff like that. So I
need a bit more of that.
Yeah. Well, I know a couple of guys, but they probably
I have to do all my Instagram stuff myself, all my videos and everything.
I've got a guy who helps me now, and I've had a lot of lads who help me for riding, and a lot of the guys who have really helped me out. But I've got a guy who I met who's a cinematographer, like a professional one. He's done like Netflix films and everything. And I met this guy, he's always wanted to do wrestling. He's turned up, I think he's like 34 at the time. And he's like, he's like a professional guy, worked on films and everything. And he's like, anything from an artistic point of view, like, he can do it. Like, he'd do the designs for the t-shirt. He's taught me like how to do like printing and everything. I'll always learn off him. I don't want to keep the knowledge there, because like, it's always best to kind of learn and share it, sort of thing. I've always felt that. But again, I'm doing it like even in my life, not just at the school. I'm trying to take stuff and give it to other people. But yeah, he can do everything, this lad can. And he's been like, his name's Nick, he's been the best thing that's happened to the school in the, like, you know, since COVID. But basically after COVID, like, COVID's obviously shut the place down for a while, and then like most places we couldn't do it, and you can't teach pro wrestling with no physical contact, you know. But yeah, he's obviously, after COVID we've had some great things happen, but Nick's the best thing, because he's elevated everything that we do, and he's made it. He does all that for me now. So like, but he doesn't have to pay to train or anything, you know, this guy. But he was like, oh, if what did he say to me? If I don't pay the training fee, you know, I keep doing that. I was like, yes, mate, yeah, that's fine. You ain't got to pay to train,
gold
mate.
Dust, and it's
and the skill and the knowledge. It's skills and knowledge.
You can pay a lot for it as well, you know.
Yeah, I know you can.
I've had a couple of guys do some bits for me, and they've done it as like mate rates as well. Yeah, but it's still like
well, he charges people, mate. He does clothing company stuff, and he'll do the graphic design from. Couple of grand, you know, for big companies. He'd do like, I think back in the day he used to do a bit of hype and stuff and all this, like, and he'd do these clothing companies. But he has to, and he's, you know, his cinematographer rate's high. It's his knowledge in that, but like, he loves wrestling, and like I say, I'm very lucky. I've got a good school. There's a lot of great people there. You know, some of them just need to either step it up, or just, I think it's more about believing in themselves. You know. If they start to believe in themselves, because I can't do that for them, I can tell them and compliment them, try and guide them the right way. And also a big thing for me is always be a good person. I don't care how good you are as a wrestler. If you're a dick, I don't want it to do with you. And that's a big thing for me. I know sometimes the dick ones are the ones what get somewhere. But I couldn't do that. I couldn't be like that person. And if I got somewhere, I just wouldn't be happy with myself, you know. So I try and steer these guys because, you know, they start training, they start doing all this stuff, success starts happening. It can alter people, you know. And this is the thing. You just got to stay grounded as much as you can, you know. So, but no, like the school we run 6 days a week. We're just based off Faircharm Industrial Estate, which is basically opposite the Narber Road, right near where that KFC is, the KFC on Narber Road everyone knows about. But yeah, we've got a school there, private place. We've got a 16-foot wrestling ring. I think I've got in total about 30 or 40-foot matted areas and stuff. And we've been there for, this is our 7th year there, and I've signed for another 5. And like it's taken off, and you know, more students the better. You know, I've got more students than I've ever had, and it's going well, and I'm really proud of it. I'm proud of everything that we've done, but it's not just me, it's a lot of effort from everyone. So
that's brilliant, mate.
Yeah.
Last thing to finish off then, question I'm going to ask you. What's one piece of advice you'd give to a younger you?
Probably just, you know, I think the thing is about it is, I think this is not just for me, but for everyone. The saying, smell the roses a little bit. You know what I mean? I never did that. All I cared about what was next. And I know that was what drove me. I know that was what made me want to get further. But at the same time, I had some good moments. I had some great moments. Like, as I've got older, I've started to appreciate it. Like, I'll just do a quick bit on this. But 2017, I was very lucky to end up on a film called Fighting With My Family. Which has got Nick Frost in out of Shaun of the Dead, and it's got Lena Headey and she's from Game of Thrones. She's the blonde Cersei woman, I think her name was. I never followed Game of Thrones, but she was the bad woman, the main bad guy in it. Vince Vaughn's in it, and The Rock's in it, and I'm in it. So you know, this is in the same film as The Rock, this bald head and that. Yeah, so.
Can hardly tell you apart.
You can't. You know, that was the problem. They said to me, make sure you stay a little bit further away from. I never got to film anything for him. He filmed his in one day, I think, at the Staples Center in America. Right. But basically, I got to in 2017. I was basically, Jack asked me to come down and just do some. Basically, just they needed someone to help take some bumps and stuff. You know, just do some filming. So it did, and I got there and. One thing led to another, and then they were asking questions, and the guy who was there at the time, he didn't care. And he was an incredible wrestler, one of the greatest. I won't name his name, but he was incredible, yeah? But he didn't care. He just wanted the money and wanted to go home. But I was like, well, you could do that. You could do that. And I think that might have got me a little bit of heat with the guy or whatever, but I don't care. I'm not bothered. But I was trying to help the stunt coordinator. There's a guy called Paul Herbert, and he did Game of Thrones the first season. He'd done The Master and Commander with Russell Crowe, like the ship film and all that lot. Yeah. He's an incredible stunt coordinator. And basically, he was asking me the questions. I was like, yeah, you could do that, you could do that. And then that one day turned into 3 months of me living in London. And me with the team, essentially, I was like the lead guy in the end. They were coming to me. I was putting all the stuff together. The director of it is that big, tall Stephen Merchant guy from The Office. Okay, Ricky Gervais and Merchant, the big tall guy. Like he was the director, and I was there, and I'm me. And unfortunately, I can't change the way I am. So none of this is phasing me whatsoever. There's production crew. There's all these people. It's a weird environment, and for anyone who works in that environment, will know this. There's a lot of people who just say yes to everything. They all follow these guys around and all this lot. I'm not the sort of person who will say yes to anything. And if I feel like I'm right, I don't care who you are. I'm telling you. And that isn't because I'm right in that. But if it's what they've brought me in for, is basically my knowledge and to teach these actors and actresses. Like now, the main two stars of that film was Florence Pugh, who's in the Thunderbolts film. She's the main star. She's in Oppenheimer and everything. She took Paige's part. And then the lad Jack Lowden, who's an incredible actor, Scottish lad, and he's in Slow Horses with Gary Oldman. It's like a really good CIA show. And they've got great careers, but at the time, these were kind of a little bit unknown at the time. So I had them two to teach, plus their two stunties. And then I had Nick Frost and all that, who's an incredible guy. He's just how he is in the films, which is weird, you know. Then I met Vince Vaughn. who's not an incredible guy. You know, who I didn't get along with at all. No, I didn't get along with him at all. So, but what I'm getting at is that environment and that weird environment. There's a lot of people that say yes. So, like, one day Stephen Merchant's like, "Oh, we need to put more padding on the ring," and I'm stood there. I'm like listening to it. Yeah, it's too hard. We need more padding, and I've gone, "No, mate." And you talk about, like, there's 9 people around him, yeah, and even Paul's gone. Everyone's gone quiet, and he's gone, "What did you say, Gareth?" I said, "No, you can't do that." He goes, "Everyone's like," Paul's like trying to nudge me, just whatever he wants, just not in a way, but that's kind of how it is. And I'm like, "No, you can't do that." And he's like, "Why?" I said, "If you put more padding on, it's going to make it sink. And if it sinks, when the actors are walking, they could roll their ankle, break their ankle."
Yeah.
I said, "The fact that it's too hard, isn't that the reason why we got stunt doubles?" Yeah. And then he's like, "Oh, that's a good point." And I think from that moment on the film, that was it then. That was it. Like, in his eyes, he was like, no, he's not just saying no. He's saying no because he has a reason. And I'm not bothered. I'm not fazed by any of it. So when I met Vince Vaughn, I'll tell this story, as long as we don't get sued. But Paul Herbert says to me, and I'm a massive fan of Vince Vaughn. I love dodgeball, I love wedding crashers. And I don't know if the guy was just having a bad time in his life, but Paul Herbert goes to me, he goes, go over to him, introduce yourself, say you're the wrestling advisor. And he's playing a coach, like a wrestling coach on there. Go say you're the wrestling advisor on the film, and any questions that you need. So I go over, he's there, he's basically just staring at the ring, there's nothing going on, so I've not interrupted him, right? I go, "Hi, nice to meet you, my name's Gareth, I'm the wrestling advisor, thinger." And he's looked at me and he's gone, "I don't need you right now, go away." So I'm like, oh. So I go back to Paul and I tell him, and he goes, "Oh, here we go." Because he's used to these people, he's used to them. Everyone's all hounding him and that. And then ever since that moment, like me and the lad at the time who was on the film, he was like, "Oh God." And it got intense because he knew I didn't like him now. Yeah, and he was like trying to intimidate me and everything. I didn't care. I'm not bothered. But like I say, I think in the end they just sent him back to his trailer. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not, again, my whole thing, no matter where I go in life and that, treat people, respect. Yeah. If he was busy, which he wasn't, but if he turned around and went, "Look, I'm busy at the minute, really nice to meet you, Gareth. Just give me some time and then we'll have a chat, or if I need, But there's no need for that arrogance. There's no need for it. Yeah. But it's not, I don't believe it's his fault as well, which is a weird thing to say. He's surrounded by people tell him everything is, yes, that's great, that's this all the time. And he's hounded by people whenever he goes anywhere. And that must do something to someone. Yeah, it's not excusable, but at the same time, it must do something to someone. Yeah. So, but like I say, done the film, I had a great time there. To answer the long-winded tangent where I go off on, I can't help myself, is smell the roses. And as I've got older, that's what I would tell myself. Like, there was moments where we've done 3 matches a day and we've sat, like me and a guy called Osman, we've sat outside and we've just sat there drinking a bit on a beach in Devon. It's just amazing. We're just drinking the beach, and all we're doing is either messing around on our phone or. And I look back at that and I go, you know what, mate? You're doing what you've always wanted to do right now. Look at it. Look at where you are. Look at what you've done, and look at where you've got, and you've come from fighting in a foam room, with your mates, to walking out of the O2 Arena, or being in the same film or on set. Teaching all these actors and actresses and putting together all these scenes, and you've done all of that, and you've come from Wigston, and you've had teachers say, "Oh, you need to stop doing that stupid stuff." And I've never been a academic person. I think everyone should. You should learn as much as you can, but it was just not for me, and I always got I never enjoyed it, but for whatever I lacked in that, I made up in people skills or, in the wrestling and stuff. I obsessed over one thing. And like I say, I think now, at the minute, if it all stops now and it ends now, I'm happy. I'm a happy man.
Yeah, it's good advice, man. Funnily enough, I've been thinking about that myself a lot. That sometimes your life is just so hectic that you don't ever even just... I said to the missus the other day just about getting out holiday photos and just going back and looking at them. Do you know what I mean? And just looking at these little moments in life you have where your kids were this a certain age, or do you know what I mean? Or I go back to certain fights and things that I won. But I also think that sometimes when you're trying to be successful at anything, that you do look for the next thing all the
look
time.
Forward, you don't
it's
look
like, okay,
behind.
I've completed that. On to the next thing. I'm not going to dwell on that and be like, oh yeah, great, I've done this, because there's more to do. And I think that's just probably a natural thing, but I don't know, maybe retirement, mate, one day when we're all 60, 70 years old. We'll have some memories and stories to tell.
I think so. Well, I think it is important, like you say, like with my kids, they're grown up and it goes like that, and it goes like that. But we've, like, my wife's been obviously massively supportive, because there was a time where this didn't bring any money in, you know, and now it brings in enough to justify what I'm doing, you know. It's always, oh, are you going to play, or are you going to do that? Like, no, I'm not. I'm going to work. But, you know, but massively supportive, and there's a lot of, like, I look at that, and like, it's all good having your eyes on what's in front of you, and it's all good pushing for that. But like, we all got one run at this, in my opinion. So you can do that, and also if you are so focused on what you want and you don't get to that, then that's going to be, in my opinion, like a negative experience. Like me, I could look back and go, oh, I never got to this, or like, it's terrible. But like, look at what you've done, you know, look at what you've done. It doesn't, you know, there's people like my granddad, my dad, they've all done amazing things in their life, but they don't, you know what I mean? It's not as vibrant out there as social media now, you know. There was a lot of things what went on back in the day, but like I say, I'm a happy man. I'm a happy man.
And you get to do what you love every day, mate.
That's it,
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Awesome, mate. Good note to finish it on.
Good man.
Thank you very much, Gareth, for doing the podcast today.
Appreciate
and
you, mate.
are, along some of the other guys, one of Leicester's finest.
No, that's lovely,
Cheers, buddy. Thank you very much.
Cheers, man.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast. If you want to hear more from the BMA podcast, follow us on Spotify for full audios. You can find clip videos on the Bermuda Martial Arts YouTube channel, and finally search at Bermuda Martial Arts on Instagram for even more content. Feel free to comment opinions on the podcast and anyone you would like to see featured. Thanks for supporting.